everybody. I tell you, I don't know if it's the power of prayer or just the fact that we're trying to do something positive today, but the skies are working with us. We ended on rain and we're back, but we think today's show is so important we were willing to stay out here in the rain to talk about this. We're coming to you today from the Tutwiler Prison for Women in Alabama, and we're talking with some women who are doing some hard time for their crimes. And the point that we're bringing out here today is that every one of the faces that you see here, our sisters, our daughters, our mothers, 80% of the women in prison in America are mothers. And these faces represent families. Elaine, we were finishing with you. We were just talking with you, and you were saying that when your 10-year-old son comes to visit you, what do you say to him? How do you deal with that?
Well, my son, he's more resentful of me being in prison than I am. Mm-hmm. He has a hard time dealing with it. He doesn't like police officers. You know, if they're not in uniform, they're okay, but if they're in uniform, he won't have anything to do with them.
You say that when he was 5 years old, he actually witnessed you murdering your common-law husband. How has he dealt with that, and how do you...
He talks about it a lot. When I was in jail, he told my family everything that happened, but he wasn't allowed to testify because of his age at my trial. Mm-hmm. So he knows that there's a reason for me being here. He knows that I didn't have any choice but to protect myself, and he's okay with that.
Mm-hmm. He's staying with who now?
My aunt and uncle.
Is that what usually happens? Because all of you have children. Who takes care of the children when you have to go to prison?
Grandmothers.
Grandmothers.
Grandmothers,
sisters, extended families. So we're talking about everybody in the family gets affected when one person ends up in prison. Yes. Let me also point this out, that there are 36 women currently on death row. 4 of them are right here at Tutwiler. One of the things that I keep hearing in all of your stories is some kind of history, and we'll get back to it, but each of you seem to, in my research I see, had a history of some kind of physical or sexual abuse. The statistics are alarming. It says that 42 or more than 42% of women in prison have suffered from some form of physical or sexual abuse. That is the case with all of you, I understand. Deborah, let's move to you now. What is your story? How did you end up here? How long have you been here?
Well, for this time, I've been here for 15 months. And how I wind up here is by making wrong choices.
Again and again and again.
And again and again and again.
You are what they call an habitual offender. This is your 3rd time at how do you keep ending up here? Is it the same offense every time?
Yes, the same offense every time. Mm-hmm. Going back into the same environment, being around the same people, doing the same thing.
Exactly what were you convicted on that ended you up here?
Theft of property, shoplifting.
And you have how many children that you leave behind?
I have 4 children.
4. And what has happened to them now that you're serving time?
Well, a lot has happened to my children now that I'm serving time. Every time I come to prison, a lot happens to my kids. When I first came, I left my 8-year-old, who's 8 years old now. When I first came in '86, he was 4 months. When I came back again in '91, I left a child at home, and he was 4 months. And when I just returned last year, I left a daughter at home, and she was 4 months. And today, she's 17 months.
Deborah, I've got to play devil's advocate because I know people at home are sitting there saying, you are a habitual drug user, a habitual offender with 4 children. Were those children affected by the drugs, other than the fact that their mom's not home, but affected by the drug use at all, or the alcohol abuse?
Yes, they were. They were. Matter of fact, my last baby, Empress is her name. She's suffering from fetus alcohol syndrome right now. And that means that her muscles are not developing like they should. Her brain had stopped growing. There's a delayment of development of her brain. She's 17 months, as I said, and she has not yet started to crawl nor walk.
What do you go through as a mother who has left 4 children behind in a difficult situation? I understand that you've made past mistakes and the children are living with that. But how do you live with it day to day, knowing you can't be there to see that first step to help her learn and overcome this fetal alcohol syndrome?
Well, when she was born, I didn't know that she had fetus alcohol syndrome.
But now that you know, because I understand your 2 other children are hyperactive because of the cocaine use.
Mary.
How do you cope with that? How do you reach, I mean, is there any way that you can be a part of their lives? Do you have a...
There's no way I can be a part of their lives in here. I was in great denial about her at first. You know, I couldn't believe that this was happening to her because from the way that I left her at home, you know, I just said, no, not my baby, not my baby. But when her grandmother brought her to see me, I saw the difference in her head development, and I knew something was wrong. And it affects me very badly. And I had to learn, first of all, to forgive myself first in order to get over that.
Because you seem like you've really pulled yourself together. I guess that, has that, in that way, can you say that prison has been a good thing for you?
Yes, yes, I can honestly say that. Because if I had been on the street and she had that, to be honest, I don't believe that I would be, you know, as honest about it if I was out on the street. And the reason why I feel so good about it today is because I've learned that we all make mistakes. I'm not perfect, and I'm into recovery. I've just completed drug treatment, and I have a very good counselor that ensures me that now the most important thing is for me to keep my sobriety. And the only way I can help Empress is to keep clean and sober.
One day, what is the one thing that you want to say to Empress? If you don't get anything else to say to her, you want to say what?
I want to tell her I'm sorry.
Sweet Empress.
I want to tell her I'm sorry. That she won't be able to do the things that other little girls won't be able to do.
We'll be right back in a minute. Come on. You okay?